At this moment, Jin-Woo appears in a desert. He feels familiar with the place because he was teleported to the penalty zone for not completing his daily mission. The penalty this time is undoubtedly a huge reward, not only escaping death but also leveling up by slaying monsters in the penalty zone. In 4 hours, he will be as good as new. Jin-Woo opens the system store, buys supplies, and faces the monsters in the desert with excitement. 4 hours later, now at level 51, he refills his health and prepares to return. With 3 minutes left before returning, he hastily prepares himself. Jin-Woo purchases a Night Slayer dagger from the store and ties it to his hand with a bandage to prevent it from being knocked away. He also learns a new skill called Dominator's Touch. A skill does not require mana and can help him control objects without touching them. As the time approaches, the penalty mission ends, and Jin-Woo officially returns to the dungeon. With the accumulation of 4 hours, the number of armored soldiers in the dungeon has reached a terrifying amount. However, they're no match for the now level 51 Jin-Woo. As he continually slays the armored soldiers, he notices something strange. They don't give him any experience. It turns out that these so-called soldiers are summoned by 5 mages. That means the boss of this job change quest is 5 hidden summoner mages among the numerous soldiers. With the solution found, the situation quickly changes. Although it takes some effort, Jin-Woo eventually defeats all 5 summoner mages, surviving for 4.5 hours and killing 5 round-headed mages. The system begins analyzing Jin-Woo's achievements, and he thinks that he already put all his stats in strength and agility, so he should be either becoming a warrior due to high strength or assassin due to the agility. However, the system has other plans for him. It determines that his desire for great power is enough to summon the wandering undead from Death Valley. These undead, loyal only to him, will serve him as a necromancer. Jin-Woo accepts the job. The system then calculates his bonus points for achievements such as eliminating all enemies, having over 50% remaining health, not using a return stone, and exceeding achievement points. Suddenly, the system notifies him that he's triggered a superior job change reward. At this moment, Jin-Woo is promoted from a necromancer to a shadow monarch. The skills of a shadow monarch are even more terrifying. He can extract the mana from a dead target and turn them into his shadow soldiers and can be summoned or reabsorbed whenever and wherever he wants. As the system prompts him, Jin-Woo sets a command word for his new skill. As soon as he speaks, countless shadow soldiers emerge from the fallen armor, creating an overwhelming presence that even surprises Jin-Woo himself. The stronger the target was in life, the more powerful the shadow soldier will be and the higher chance to be failed during summoning. Jin-Woo then looks at Igris, who had previously put up a fierce fight against him. If he could summon Igris as one of his shadow soldiers, he would have an additional means of protection. After 2 failed attempts, Jin-Woo is left with only one more chance. Jin-Woo quickly employs his best tactics, combining persuasion and deception. Finally, Igris becomes Jin-Woo's first night-level shadow lieutenant. The moment Igris becomes a shadow lieutenant, all the other shadow soldiers immediately kneel before Jin-Woo. Though no words are spoken, the silence speaks volumes. Jin-Woo now understands that he is no longer alone. With his army of shadows, he has the power of a legion.
After returning home, Jin-Woo is sleeping when his phone wakes him up. It turns out his sister Jin-Ah has a parent-teacher conference at her school. Sung Jin-Woo quickly gets dressed and heads to the school. The teacher doesn't want to discuss Jin-Ah, but rather her best friend, Han Song-yi. Apparently, Han Song-yi has been identified as an awakened and has been skipping class to become a hunter. The teacher asks Sung Jin-Woo to persuade Han Song-yi to focus on her studies and not to enter the hunter's life prematurely. Upon learning that Han Song-yi's awakened level is only E rank, Sung Jin-Woo immediately decides to show her the harsh reality of the hunter world. Meanwhile, at a nearby airport, Hwang Dong-soo returns. As a top-ranked hunter, he shows no respect to the monitoring department's chief, Woo Jin-cheol. Hwang Dong-soo's sole purpose is to investigate Jin-Woo, the person responsible for his brother's death. On the other hand, Sung Jin-Woo takes Han Song-yi to the White Tiger Guild's training dungeon for new recruits. They plan to blend into the team and observe the battle. The attack team for this C-rank dungeon consists of 1 A rank, 7 B ranks, and 4 C ranks, led by an A rank named Kim Chul. As soon as Han Song-yi enters the dungeon, the portal suddenly changes to red. The chief quickly contacts the White Tiger Guild's president, an S-rank hunter named Baek Yoon-ho. Once inside the dungeon, Sung Jin-Woo notices 2 arrows flying towards them from an unknown location. He grabs one arrow, heading for Han Song-yi, while the other arrow hits a team member. Everyone looks in the direction the arrows came from, and they see an ice elf. Outside the dungeon, Baek Yoon-ho arrives and examines the dungeon's fluctuations. He speculates that the dungeon is at least A rank or possibly higher, and the people inside face great danger. Inside the dungeon, the ice elf shows a sinister smile, taunting Sung Jin-Woo before disappearing. Kim Chul, confident in his A-rank status, promptly kicks all the weaker members out of the team. The two groups of people go their separate ways. Kim Chul and his team take one route, while Sung Jin-Woo and the others head deeper into the forest, as the white bears in the forest are easier to deal with compared to the cunning ice elves. Suddenly, a white bear appears, terrifying everyone. Sung Jin-Woo steps forward, leaps high, and strikes the bear with a powerful punch, knocking its head to the side. The group is shocked by Sung Jin-Woo's strength. In response to their astonishment, he says, "Don't ask any questions, just follow me and I'll show you the way." The remaining members happily gather around a bonfire, eating bear meat. Sung Jin-Woo arrives at the white bear's cave and starts to solo raid. Facing a group of white bears, he doesn't hesitate and asks if others need help. He then summons his shadow army. A fierce battle ensues between the two sides with no clear winner at first. As time passes, the victory tilts in favor of Sung Jin-Woo. The white bears, being mere flesh and blood, are no match for the immortal shadow army that constantly regenerates, turning the fight into a one-sided massacre. The White Bear King can't take it anymore and yells, "Enough already! Just take these two soldiers and be done with it!" He tries to slap a shadow soldier, but doesn't go through with it, as attacking the king would be disrespectful. Igris, the powerful shadow knight wielding a giant sword, appears and charges towards the White Bear King. In less than 5 rounds, the White Bear King is decapitated. Igris presents the bear's head to his king, Sung Jin-Woo, who pats his shoulder, acknowledging his efforts. Seeing the countless dead bodies, Sung Jin-Woo doesn't waste any time and summons the White Bear King by saying the command word, "Arise!" The ferocious White Bear King is now transformed into a shadow soldier. Meanwhile, Kim Chul's team encounters a Yeti, followed by an encounter with an ice monster. It seems that the dungeon considers Kim Chul's A-rank team weak, making it easy to manipulate them. In an instant, Kim Chul is left alone and runs for his life. After running for a while, he stumbles upon Jin-Woo's group, and he is infuriated to see that they are not only alive but also well-supplied. He's about to steal their supplies when Jin-Woo slaps him to knock him down. Just then, the ultimate boss of this dungeon, the Ice Elves King, arrives with his minions in front of Jin-Woo's group, mocking them for their apparent weakness. Jin-Woo challenges him, saying that he'll show the Ice King who's the boss. To his surprise, Jin-Woo finds that he can understand the language of monsters. Is it because of his system? The Ice Elf who previously provoked Jin-Woo wants to challenge him to a one-on-one duel. Before the king can introduce, Jin-Woo kills the Ice Elf with a single strike, warning the king not to underestimate him. Seeing Jin-Woo's strength, the Ice King smirks, asking an absurd question about why Jin-Woo is with humans, and orders him to kill his teammates if he wants to be alive. Jin-Woo wonders why the king does not consider him as human. However, Jin-Woo retorts, threatening to defeat the king as well. Jin-Woo summons his shadow army, and both sides begin to fight without further conversation. Jin-Woo rushes towards the Ice King, intending to capture the leader first. However, he is forced to retreat after a brief clash, realizing he might not even win with Igris's help. Thinking about obtaining a stronger shadow, Jin-Woo looks at Kim Chul and kicks a sword towards him. Kim Chul wakes up, remembering what happened earlier, and angrily swings his sword at Jin-Woo. As Jin-Woo faces attacks from both the Ice King and Kim Chul, he remains calm and summons Igris, who quickly takes down Wang Ji with a single strike. Jin-Woo summons him as a shadow soldier and names him Iron. Iron immediately taunts the Ice King, who becomes provoked, and the three of them work together to beat the Ice King. Under their relentless attacks, the Ice King ultimately falls, and Jin-Woo kills him with a single strike, completing the dungeon. With the dungeon master eliminated, their levels increase. Just as Jin-Woo is about to catch his breath, Iron suddenly goes berserk, whipping the corpse. Jin-Woo reprimands him, annoyed and exhausted. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, Hwang Dong-soo hears that Jin-Woo has entered a red dungeon, believing Jin-Woo will die in the dungeon for sure. He decides to leave without further confrontation with Baek Yoon-ho. After a few hours, Baek Yoon-ho, watching the low-rank hunters emerging from the dungeon, wonders if his elite team has been wiped out. As Jin-Woo leaves, Baek Yoon-ho approaches him to inquire about the situation. Unfazed, Jin-Woo responds that he has to leave and tells him to ask the others. And instead of getting angry, Baek Yoon-ho tries to recruit him into the White Tiger Guild. Although they lost an A-rank hunter, if they could recruit Jin-Woo, the White Tiger Guild would undoubtedly become a top-tier guild. While driving, Jin-Woo recalls the Ice Elves King and feels a little regretful for failing to summon him 3 times. However, he is satisfied with the dagger he obtained. The next day, Jin-Woo looks at Yoo Jin-ho's outfit with a helpless expression, acknowledging that it is indeed his style. The two of them then drive off to pick up Han Song-yi in need of medical attention. Yoo Jin-ho, overhearing their conversation, is shocked and wonders if he's allowed to listen to this information. He quickly reminds Jin-Woo that Song-yi is still a minor. Inside the dungeon, Yoo Jin-ho is paralyzed with fear. He watches as a group of shadow soldiers clear the dungeon and gather mana crystals, and when he realizes his position is being taken, he quickly starts to collect the crystals himself. Meanwhile, far away in an A-rank dungeon in the United States, a man resembling a Saiyan appears. Due to the language barrier, he is mistaken for a monster and detained. The man introduces himself as Sung Il-hwan, and only S-rank hunter Hwang Dong-soo can communicate with him. During the interrogation, Hwang Dong-soo discovers that his son's name is Jin-Woo. It turns out Sung Il-hwan is Sung Jin-Woo's father. Hwang Dong-soo smirks, but Sung Il-hwan senses his ill intentions and gives him a sharp look, asking what he's looking at. A fierce battle ensues, and Hwang Dong-soo is sent to the ICU. Meanwhile, Jin-Woo completes the 20 dungeon runs with Yoo Jin-ho, and they prepare to celebrate. After drinking, Jin-Woo remembers the key to the demon castle he received from Cerberus. Seeing his current level, he decides it's time to reclaim his territory. The next day, Jin-Woo tells his sister he won't be back for a week and heads to the designated location to enter the demon castle. As the gates open, the system gives him a mission to collect 10,000 demon souls, and the rewards are very tempting. After accepting the mission, he enters the dungeon, greeted by a scorching heat and a city engulfed in flames. The demon castle has 100 floors, and an entry permit is needed to access each floor. Given Jin-Woo's current strength, he quickly clears the first floor. Considering the time constraint, he summons his shadow army and begins a sweeping assault. With his incredible abilities, Jin-Woo moves through the floors at an astonishing speed, collecting more than 2,500 demon souls. Finally, on the 50th floor, he encounters the first boss of the demon castle, the lower ruler, Greedy Fire God. Jin-Woo commands his army to attack, while he turns invisible and tries to finish the Fire God with a single strike. To his surprise, the Fire God is incredibly agile and quickly appears in front of the Shadow Army. Despite his size, the Fire God is incredibly fast. As the Fire God's attacks obliterate the Shadow Army, Jin-Woo realizes it's time for him to step in. He leaps forward and lands a powerful punch on the Fire God's face. With all his attribute points invested in strength, he never expected to send the Fire God flying with just one punch. The Fire God slowly stands up, glaring menacingly at Jin-Woo. The system then notifies him that the Greedy Fire God has activated its skill Rage, increasing all attributes by 50%. In an instant, the hefty body appears in front of Jin-Woo, and the 40-meter-long club is about to fall on his head, leaving no time to dodge. Jin-Woo quickly shouts, and Iron instantly understands his intentions, raising his large shield with all his might. Jin-Woo catches the shield without looking back and hurriedly raises it to block the attack. As the Fire God's attack creates an opening, Jin-Woo leaps up, preparing to counterattack. Unexpectedly, the Fire God is also waiting for an opportunity, and Jin-Woo is forced to use the Dominator's touch skill in a desperate situation, narrowly escaping with the help of the repulsive force. Since he can't fight head-on, he decides to outsmart the Fire God. Jin-Woo lures the Fire God to a dangerous building, using the structure to limit its movements. He then delivers a powerful skyward slash, killing the Fire God. He obtains 4 high-quality items, among which the most useful for enhancing his combat power is the A-rank item, Greedy Pearl, which doubles magic damage. After defeating the Fire God, Jin-Woo leads a massive army, slaughtering demons along the way. In no time, they reach the 75th floor, where the boss, a Mud Guardian, summons countless zombies and skeletons from the ground, quickly forming an undead army. Iron and Egress take the lead, and the Shadow Soldiers follow closely behind. "Wow, you guys are even more vicious than demons," Mud Guardian exclaims in shock. Jin-Woo immediately strikes him down. Sitting on the demon's remains, Jin-Woo admires the strength of its ability to summon undead soldiers, so he wants to turn it into his shadow soldier. Unfortunately, the demon's magic has been tainted and can't be extracted as a shadow soldier, which is a pity. Jin-Woo checks the rewards. A necklace belonging to the Demon King, an S-rank accessory that increases agility and intelligence by 20 points each and can be linked with earrings to unlock the first set effect. All attribute points increase by 5. Although Jin-Woo wants to continue conquering the Demon Castle to complete the set, he doesn't have the energy to go further. At this moment, the system notifies him that he's completed the first stage of the mission. Collect 10,000 demon souls and receive the system rewards. And the rewards include blueprints for the Elixir of Life, 20 attribute points, and a key with unknown properties. The Elixir of Life, an S-rank item, can heal all diseases, which means Jin-Woo's mother no longer needs to stay bedridden. Crafting the Elixir of Life requires 3 items: fragments of the World Tree, water from the Echoing Spring, and the purified blood of the Demon King. Jin-Woo already has the first 2 items from previous boss drops, and the last one must be from the Demon Castle's ultimate boss. To quickly level up, Jin-Woo needs to find an opportunity to challenge the Demon Castle again. Sitting by his mother's bedside, Jin-Woo clenches his fists, determined to increase his hunter rank to make things easier. He heads to the Hunter Association to undergo a re-evaluation of his rank. Placing his hand on the crystal ball, a surge of powerful energy envelops the area. The tester is puzzled because the ball shows an error. However, the supervisor quickly realizes something is wrong and, breaking out in cold sweat, calls for a higher supervisor. The error isn't due to a malfunction, it's because the crystal ball's capacity is maxed out, and it can't measure Jin-Woo's rank. This means that this man is the 10th S-rank hunter in the country. Upon hearing this news, the 5 major guilds are all shocked and scramble to recruit him. First, the Hunter Guild president, Choi Jong-in, approaches Jin-Woo, boasting about being the only guild in the country with 2 S-rank hunters and the strongest in power. As the pinnacle of fire mages, he's known as the ultimate weapon, but Jin-Woo shows no interest and declines the offer. Baek Yun-ho, the White Tiger Guild leader, rushes to meet Jin-Woo, possibly even using a magical beast to travel faster. By the time he arrives, however, Jin-Woo has already left. When Jin-Woo returns to the hospital, the third influential force, the Hunter Association, which manages all guilds, extends an olive branch to him. The association president, Go Gun-hee, personally meets Jin-Woo. Despite various temptations, Jin-Woo still chooses to decline the invitation from the Hunter Association. His reason is simple. He wants to focus on battling and leveling up to become stronger, and the Hunter Association doesn't participate in dungeon raids.